If you were the one who wanted to move to Australia and start or expand your business, Australia is now saying no mas to entrepreneurs coming. I'm going to give you all the details. And so if watching Australia's citizens being locked out of their own country during the pandemic wasn't enough to say, oh, gee, maybe I don't want to go and do business in Australia on top of their crazy high tax rates and their crazy high labor rates and all the other things. What does it cost, $100 to buy a cigarette there? Here's the next thing they're doing. They are cutting the new intake for Business Innovation and Investor Program by 88%. This is one of Australia's programs that allows people to move to the country, do business, invest in the country. They don't want you anymore. If it's your first time here, I'm Andrew Henderson, founder of Nomad Capitalist. We're a boutique consulting firm that helps 7- and 8-figure entrepreneurs and investors legally go where you're treated best. You can learn more at nomadcapitalist.com. I have nothing against Australia. I simply call balls and strikes. If you don't let your own citizens into your own country, that's against all the international conventions. And if you don't want entrepreneurs to come, that's certainly your right. But it shows to me that I'm right, that Western countries just don't value entrepreneurship. They don't value productive people. They don't want you to bring your business. They don't want you to create jobs. That's lip service politicians pay. We want job creation. By the way, have you noticed how fewer and fewer politicians are talking about job creation, on the far left at least? And I'm not certainly a far right guy. I see the benefits of both sides, but certainly you see the far left politicians. Now it's about UBI. Now it's about just giving people money. Just print some more money. Everyone should have just free stuff. Cancel rent. Cancel everything, right? And so Australia is certainly no stranger to some of that stuff. And perhaps that's why they figure we don't need foreign entrepreneurs anymore. So here's the story from our friends at iMight Daily. Australia's popular Business Innovation and Investment Program, or BIP, which encompasses foreign investment and entrepreneurship-based visa categories, has long struggled with a seemingly intractable backlog of pending applications that has seen processing times of 2.5 years. Now, for the record, I have expressed my frustrations recently with Portugal's Golden Visa program, which is backlogs about half that long, okay? And I just said this isn't how it's supposed to be run. They've run it somewhat inefficiently. It has been frustrating. Good program, run poorly. Australia is doing what I think Canada did back in the day. Canada had a program like this that they canceled almost a decade ago. And 2.5 years just to get processed for the privilege of coming in and running a business. Now, the countries that we talk about, you can get a residence permit as little as 30 days. You start a company in the UAE, you don't even need money. You just go and get your 3-year residence permit. They don't tax you while you're living there. You can go through the express route, what our clients do. We send them through the express route, and it's just like, all right, blood test, go over here, go over here, go over here. All right, now go to this office. Okay, go over there, go over there. You're done in like a matter of weeks. In Australia, it takes 2.5 years, and you want to tell me that Western countries are still competitive? You want to tell me that entrepreneurs from around the world, I don't care if they're Western, Eastern, from up, down, north, or west, those entrepreneurs want to come to your country after everything you've done to take away people's freedoms, and you're making them wait 2.5 years, and now you don't even want them at all. And you're going to tell me, yeah, we're a bastion of economic freedom. Yeah, the Western world's still the best place to start a business. Really? All that talk of we need the best and the brightest to come here is nothing more than lip service. Sharply restricted intake levels planned for this year, however, indicate the backlog has the potential to be drastically reduced, but only at the expense of new applicants. So basically, it takes us 2.5 years to process someone who wants to come and bring money and hire people in our country. And so the only way we're going to get rid of that backlog is, hey, everybody else, get out of line. Club's closed. Go away. Go home. So let's go through the numbers. June 30th, 2020, they've got about 25,000 pending initial applications. They got that down to about 24,000. They shrunk it by 1,000, about 4% last year. And so they're moving through this very, very slowly. Obviously, people are continuing to apply during that period. And so many applicants, they say, are waiting upwards of 30 months for a decision, delays the new government has publicly committed to tackle. But again, they're tackling it by just saying, we don't want anybody. Stakeholders, they say, typically watch for 2 government-issued immigration quotas as far as the program is concerned. The migration planning level quota, which is how many people that they're allowed in, and the state and territory nominated visa applications, the number of new visas the states and territories can nominate in a given year. And so the quota could see upward revision, but not likely by much. But the bottom line is, one advisor says it's going to be a challenging year. And so he says, we know that the new government isn't keen on investment-based immigration. And even if we get a level of allocated nominations, that we've had before, we're going to be a great number lower than we had historically. And so by one metric, it could be 88% less in terms of how many people can come and participate in BIP. And so this is what I've been telling you. Listen, if Australia rolled out some new program that said, hey, come and start a business, we're going to make it easy, we're going to make it fast, we're going to give you some incentives, we're going to make it, we're going to be the place to come. Yeah, I would have some reservations for sure, given what's been happening there, because they have been one of the world leaders in restricting people's freedoms, okay? I mean, not even allowing your citizens to come to your country. This isn't some right-wing conspiracy. This is like what the United Nations agreed on decades ago, and they're not even following that, okay? So you'd certainly have some very big reservations. But at least you'd say, all right, hey, they're doing something for economic freedom to earn that top spot they have. They're in the top 5, allegedly, most economically free countries in the world. And the reality is, how can you be one of the most economically free countries in the world? And to the extent of how are you going to stay there, even if you believe that you are there as an Australian, how are you going to stay there when all the other businesses started by people from all around the world aren't welcoming your country? No one's going to start a business in Australia just for kicks without being able to move there. No one's going to sign up to pay Australian taxes on their corporation without the ability to go there. Now, I think you're going to see a lot of people who value freedom, and a lot of Westerners say there's better opportunities, right? It's too far away, it's too restrictive, the taxes are too high, and they won't even let me into the country on a long-term basis. You might see some folks from emerging countries, and we're very proud to help a number of folks who come from emerging countries who built multi-million-dollar-a-year businesses. Are any of those folks going to want to go to Australia given all of this? And even if they wanted to, they're not going to be welcome. So my point, I believe, stands. Countries in Eastern Europe, countries in the Gulf, countries in Southeast Asia, they're saying, hey, we got to compete. We need to welcome people to our country. Make it easier, make it faster. Singapore, even developed places like Singapore where you think, hey, they don't have to be that competitive. They're saying, we're lagging behind. Australia is not saying we're lagging behind. Australia's like, yeah, all right, get rid of 7 out of 8 of them. You, all right, you're gone. You can stay. Every other country, including wealthy countries, is opening up. You think the UAE is that bad? It's more free. The taxes are a lot lower. It's much more diverse. The time zones are better for most people, right? How does Australia even compete with that before saying they don't want people? Singapore, really? Like, that's more close. Like, you're doing business in Asia, that's probably a better place to be. Lower taxes, like, again, much better situation. And so you have places that are so much more competitive. And what have I told you? You're living in a Western country, and you're saying, oh, this is as good as it gets. Who's this idiot going to these other countries? Oh, blah, blah, blah. Yeah, because other countries actually want business. And over time, competitive offerings are going to win. Certainly legacy brands have a lot of legacy interest, have a lot of things baked into their economy, but you're starting to see the margins crumble, which is exactly why the politicians are so in favor of things like universal basic income and giving people money. Why? Because wages in these Western countries, generally speaking, aren't keeping up. Maybe Australia's a little bit better, in all fairness, than some places like the US. But wages aren't going up the same way they are at a global level because people are taking their businesses somewhere else, and they're hiring somewhere else, and they're paying taxes, or not, somewhere else. And so eventually you're going to see people in these Western countries start to struggle. That's going to mean that what's happening with politicians saying, well, you rich people are the problem. Why aren't you paying enough? Well, they're not. The issue's not they're paying enough. The issues are that you don't want anyone to come and bring more jobs and raise wages and raise the level of competition. So therefore, economies stagnate. That's why countries like India are seeing huge growth in GDP at a time when places like the US are in recession. And so, do I want to stick around in a country that doesn't want anybody to come? The US is hardly perfect in this example either. Do I want to live in a Western country where no one's going to come and start new businesses because it's very hard for them to get in, they have to wait forever, and they're treated like garbage, when there's so many places where they can be treated like kings and queens? Do I want to be there and wait as my country stagnates and I'm told I have to pay more because my country thinks they're above everybody else? Why? Because you've got a name brand. Plenty of entrepreneurs. Just talked to a guy yesterday from Egypt. He's moving his business to the UAE. He's not thinking about Australia or the US. He doesn't care because he's got money, so he can live in his country. He can have his business in the UAE, and everything works out perfectly. More and more people are making that same decision, that they don't need Western countries. If they want to sell to clients or customers in those Western countries, they can. Why go through the hassle? Why go through the wait? Why go through the taxes? Why go through everything? And that's long-term bad for Western economies. It's a bad sign. It shows the arrogance, and ultimately they're going to pay the price.